Although the 2019-2020 season was shortened, the Gulls were headed in the right direction. We'll recap the top moments, saves, hits, and goals from a memorable ride. And we'll look ahead because there's plenty to be optimistic about and even more talent on the way. We have that and plenty more on the season finale of Gulls All Access presented by California Coast Credit Union.
For Carrick, wrap around.
Hello everyone, I'm Andy Zilch. Thanks for checking out Gulls All Access. In mid-May, American Hockey League President David Andrews announced the season would be canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Andrews' official statement read in part, "After a lengthy review process, the American Hockey League has determined that the resumption and completion of the 2019-2020 season is not feasible in light of the current conditions. The league's operational focus has turned towards actively preparing for the 2020-21 season." The Gulls then reached out fully supporting the league's decision. Part of the team's statement read, "While we were hopeful to complete the 2019-20 season, the health and safety of our fans, staff, players, working personnel, and community is our number one priority. The Gulls have given fans the option of getting refunds for their tickets, using those tickets as a credit towards next season's seats, or donating their ticket credit to the San Diego Gulls Foundation." Here's a look at the final Pacific Division standings. The Gulls were climbing towards the top. They won 18 of their final 26 games, and since New Year's Day, they led the division in wins and points percentage. They had just beaten the first place Tucson Roadrunners on the road when the season was put on hold. President of Business Operations Matt Savant and head coach Kevin Dineen spoke to the media via Zoom following the cancellation of the season.
It was a unanimous vote. All teams voted to cancel the season immediately. And we didn't take it lightly. As I said, this is the first time in 83 years that the Calder Cup will not be awarded. So we understand the magnitude of this decision, but we wanted to make sure that we took into account the safety of our fans, our players, and our employees when we made this decision.
I actually had our strength and conditioning guys send me my program too, and it's fabulous. You know what? We're getting, there's a video breakdown. Guys are actually working out together on the internet, having that opportunity to work with our strength and conditioning staff as well. So, you know what? There's no stone unturned, and that's one thing this organization has really put a priority on, is to make sure that when we hit the ice, we're ready to roll.
I have concern, but I know that we're prepared. And I also know that there's a governing body, AHL and the NHL, and they are going to set the rules across the league. So we're going to be able to follow the process and make sure that we're doing what is right for the teams, the communities, and the fans that are all there. So I recognize that these are options that we need to consider. I have my staff going through every single scenario from start to finish. So when the one that does present itself, we are ready for it. But I'm not overly concerned, because I do feel confident in the decisions that will be made from an AHL standpoint. We'll follow those rules and we'll make the best of the situation.
The man who announced the season would be canceled, Dave Andrews, has overseen the league since 1994. Andrews is retiring after 26 years as the league's president. His 2.5 decades atop the AHL saw the league grow from 16 teams to 31, many of those additions in the West. I had a chance to catch up with Andrews via Zoom. David, thanks a lot for taking your time to chat with us today.
Yeah, happy to be with you.
I want to take it all the way back to year one, and when you first began. What were you wanting to accomplish as soon as you jumped into that role? What were some goals that you wanted to tackle as your first or second or third year?
I mean, the early strategic plan was a survival plan. Our league was in tough shape, and certainly a lot of people pulled together. We had 16 teams or 15 teams then, I forget. I think it was 16. And, I think 7 or 8 of them were in Atlantic Canada. So we were very regionalized league in the eastern part of Canada and the eastern part of the United States. But really, we were really just trying to grow our league and strengthen our league and build a stronger relationship with the NHL.
Now, as you stand back and you look at how the Pacific Division has grown, I mean, on the initial move, there was Colorado, no Tucson, and now we're seeing Vegas, as you talked about, and even further Palm Springs. So you got to really be satisfied with the growth, and especially with the All-Star game coming over last year as well to Ontario at how non-hockey market historically has now turned ever since maybe 1993, and now the American Hockey League has got a hand in that as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's been nothing short of spectacular for us. If you San Diego and Ontario are, I believe, in the top 5 in our league in attendance and have been for the last several years since we moved out there. So anytime you bring 2 markets in that are in your top 4 or 5 in a 30-team league, that's real positive. And I have to say, going to games in San Diego, going to games in Ontario, terrific experience. Like, it's a fun place to go to games. The rivalry between those teams is strong. The important thing for us is that all of those NHL West Coast based NHL teams are happy in the American Hockey League, and they're so much happier than they were when their players were playing on the East Coast. Anytime your stakeholders and your NHL partners are happier, that means our league is more stable and more sustainable over the long haul.
Andrew's successor, beginning July 1st, is Scott Howson, who is the Edmonton Oilers' head of player development. We wish both Howson and Dave Andrews the best. To stay on top of all that's happening with the league and the Gulls, go to sandiegogulls.com. You should also check out the team's Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram feeds. Up next, my broadcast partner BJ McPherson joins me as we look back at the top moments of the season. And we'll show you the top saves, unbelievable stop, hits, and goals of what was a memorable campaign. Scores! Listen to America's finest fans! As Gulls All Access, presented by California Coast Credit Union, continues. Welcome back. I'm joined by former Gulls captain and broadcast partner BJ McPherson, and we're discussing some of our favorite moments and the best moments from this past season. BJ, with that being said, as you look back, what are some of your top moments and maybe your favorite moment from this past season?
Well, right away to get started, a top moment for me was when the captaincy was awarded to Sam Carrick. And again, when a captaincy gets awarded, the team knows who's going to be the leader of the team. And here's a player who led on the ice, off the ice. You put a C on a guy's shirt, trust me, I know it from being it. You skate around the ice, you look in the glass, and you see that C on your shirt, it puts something into your mind knowing that, look, you're being rewarded for this. You don't change the way you play. You don't change things. But that captaincy, what it means is you are a guy that's going to lead this team.
I think for me, probably my favorite moment would be Kiefer Sherwood in getting his hat trick and his very first hat trick. A guy who also had a letter this year. He had the alternate captain from time to time, and he's a guy who came out of college. He was older than a lot of the other guys that were in their second year pro or even rookies, but he still made a good presence on and off the ice. And I think that hat trick game that he had, where he had 2 shorthanded goals and a penalty shot, is probably my favorite moment of the season.
He's one of those players, the way he played this season, for me, every shift was like the last shift. Kiefer Sherwood, last year he was up with the Ducks a lot in the season. This year to come down, he had a great start to the season, and then he got a little bit of the injury. But the greatest thing about him coming back from that injury is when he got that hat trick.
And finally, let's discuss the beginning part of the season. It was a difficult part of the season. There was no hiding behind it. 0-6 start. The Gulls, after that, got off to a torrid hot streak. But what did they do to get past that 0-6 start?
Well, the 0-6 start, to have it start like that, new coach Kevin Dineen, what the fans are thinking when you come out as a new coach, 0-6, scheduling didn't help whatsoever. You get a loss, what do you want to do as a hockey team or player? You want to play the next night. Scheduling was so bad, they had to wait a week after each game. So when you go that long and you have a loss, what you want to do, you come out and you just work too hard. There's sometimes in hockey, you work too hard. And I think that's what the Gulls were doing. But I think the turning point was when Coach Kevin Dineen took everything on his shoulders, on himself. and he took the 6 losses and he put it on his back. And when the team, I felt, when they heard that from their coaching staff, head coach, that's when the team really took off.
Now here's a look at the top saves, hits, and goals from the 2019-20 season.
Gulls have a short-handed chance. It's Alex Broadhurst on a break. He shoots! Scores! Alex Broadhurst picks up his first point as a San Diego Gull. Broadhurst to Klus, far wing. Blake Pianola scores! 3-0 San Diego. You have Justin Klus, short-handed breakaway. He shoots! Scores! Are you kidding me? One-on-one on Smear. Garrick, right wing side, moves around him, shoots, and scores! Unbelievable goal! Sam Garrick, half-fading Strong, gets a 2-on-1, shoot save, rebound, scores! Daniel Strong ties it up. Blitzer 2 in the neutral zone. Garrick charges to the slot, shoots, and scores! Sam Garrick ties the game in 3. He cut across a good power forward move by the Gulls captain. Troy Terry overlays his way in. Terry shoots, save made, and it trickles through. 4-3 San Diego regains the lead that they had. They started the game with a 1-0 lead and finally battle themselves back. Sprong holds, shoots, scores! 3-1 the score. Daniel Sprong picks up goal number 8 on the season. Collected by Heavey. He's pressured by Klus, intercepting. He'll go to Kopacka, backdoor! They score! Unbelievable goal by San Diego, and it's Alex Broadhurst that finishes it up. Now another chance, partial break, Kopacka scores! 4-0, 2.9 for 32. Klus down low, Carrick scores! Get those hats out! The first hat trick in San Diego by a Gulls player in their American League history. The 3-on-1 developing for her, leading it right side to Lundestrom. Scores! Listen to America's finest fans as Lundestrom able to pot goal number 5. Sherwood shoots, scores! Throw the hats! A hat trick for 44! And it's the first hat trick of his young 2-year career. And Patrick Seeloff with the heavy check. Back in and Joshua Harris hit him down. He gets slammed up against the boards by Benoit. Peterson, he gets blasted down to the ice. Blue line and gets absolutely flattened by Yanni Hakanpää. Here, Elbow breaks it in. Backdoor feed. Unbelievable stop by Stolarz. And up, it's intercepted. Tries, works it in. And Stolarz with the save. Pass to the high slot, a chance. Unbelievable stop by Kevin Boyle. Stolarz with a beautiful glove save. 1 and a blocker save made by Boyle. Sidestep, unbelievable save by Anthony Stolarz. A shot by Elson, what an unbelievable save by Anthony Stolarz, maybe saving the game with his left-handed glove stop.
We support all those who stand up to end racism and discrimination. We encourage those who are demonstrating to use peaceful, nonviolent actions. Driving positive social change and reform to our San Diego community and across America is vital. Every individual is responsible to effect change and dismantle oppression through compassion, empathy, and courage. We are committed to working in our community to bring change, provide a safe, positive, and inclusive environment for all. It is our responsibility to lead by example and take a stand. Together, we stand against racism. Stay with us. We'll be right back. San Diego Gulls Hockey and Gulls All Access are presented by California Coast Credit Union, San Diego's oldest financial institution with over 25 branch locations, a shared branch network of 60 area locations, and 30,000 free ATMs nationwide. Well, there'll be a new team debuting in the Pacific Division when the American Hockey League play resumes. They're the Henderson Silver Knights, located in Nevada, just a few miles away from their parent club, the Vegas Golden Knights. So, BJ, what are your thoughts about having this team added to the Pacific Division?
Well, it's Henderson, but if you really think about it, it's Vegas. And every hockey player loves going to Vegas. You get to play or not, but it strengthens the division. You keep teams this tight, got Ontario, got Bakersfield. It's just going to make the division that much better. You know it as well as anybody up in the Northeast in the American Hockey League. You jump in a bus, you can play 5, 6, 7 teams, and that's what's strengthening this division.
So how this franchise came about, they were acquired from the San Antonio Rampage, but it's actually the team from the Chicago Wolves that is coming to Henderson. So with that being said, we saw them 2 years ago in the postseason. BJ, what's your scouting report on them?
Well, the scouting report from 2 years ago, Rocky Thompson, the coach, he's a coach that he coaches the way he played, and he gets that out of his players. Up and down the middle of this organization, tough, solid, and that's what you want, is a building foundation to make it to the NHL. And I think that's an American League hockey team that they're going to get from Chicago to Henderson. It's going to be an easy transition, and it's a tough squad.
Let's turn our attention now to the National Hockey League entry draft. The lottery will be held in late June, and the Ducks have just a little over an 8% chance of getting the number 1 pick. They also have another first-round pick as well. So with those 2 important picks and all the picks in the NHL entry draft, BJ, how does this build the Gulls and then eventually the Ducks in the foreseeable future?
So what the NHL draft does is it gets started. You know, you don't have to come down to the American Hockey League, and that's why the lottery is going to be so big. When you get the lottery pick, hopefully we can get as high a pick as you can. And if the player is that good to make the NHL right away, that's great. But if they're not, you come down to the American Hockey League and you get groomed ready for the NHL. That's how big the NHL draft is for the American Hockey League team and for your NHL team.
So you touched a little bit about how some of the players have made an impact here. Let's go through some of those names. I mean, we can talk about wingers like Troy Terry, even a centerman like Sam Steele. Guys that were rookies this past season, Antoine Morin. They all have made a great impact on this club, whether it be offensively on the score sheet or defensively with a good 200-foot game like guys like Isaac Lunderstrom.
Lunderstrom could be an 18, 19-year-old coming into the American Hockey League. It's a big difference coming from college hockey when you can be 22 years old. So you think of a guy like Lunderstrom coming over from Europe, playing in the American Hockey League. These players grow up really fast.
And you want to talk about a guy that had to grow up, Maxime Comtois. He was a step and bounds above what he was over 3-4 years ago because of the experiences that he's had in his life over the past 2 years.
So Maxime Comtois, here's a second-round pick who's pretty much a first-rounder if you really look at it. He was the captain in the Quebec Major Junior League. He's the captain of the Canadian World Junior Team. He is a player who's a foundation player for an organization. He's a power forward who's done a lot of growing up. You think of his last 2 years of his life, he's a player that hopefully is going to play another 15 years in the NHL.
Now we'll talk about the players that are turning pro and joining the organization, and we'll kickstart it with one of the top playmakers out of the World Junior Championship, Trevor Zegras.
Yeah, BU player, scored a lot of big goals, and he talked about it. His playmaking ability is one thing, but the way he can come up in the big games and score the big goal, here's a player who's played college hockey. He's going to have a little change when he comes up to the American League and the NHL with the amount of games he's played, but he's a player to watch out for, especially scoring big goals.
And a guy who has some familiarity with the American Hockey League, Bo Gruel. His dad is actually the head coach of the Syracuse Crunch, but another good forward that the organization adds.
Good forward, that's one way to put it. Two-way player of the year in the Quebec Major Junior League. Here's a player, when I hear two-way player, I think of players like Patrice Bergeron from Boston Bruins. You get a player like that, and you're called a two-way hockey player. Play defense, play offense. He's a player you're going to want on your ice.
The next guy is a guy we got a really good look at the rookie face-off in Irvine this past year, and that's Lucas Dostal, the goaltender.
He's a goaltender, named Goalie of the Year in the Finnish League. Led the league in wins. He's a goalie. He plays bigger than he is. And I know with a guy named like Anthony Stolars and his size, he's another one of these goaltenders who's going to come up and play bigger than he is.
Axel Andersson is the next one to touch on, and he was actually acquired in the Kasha trade, a Swedish defenseman, and we know a lot about that.
So Axel Andersson, what he does is he's a quarterback on the power play. Here's a player, really the size doesn't matter. It's his leadership, especially on the power play. When you can have a defenseman, a right-handed defenseman like he is, lead the power play, it's a key asset to your team.
And finally, coming from the WHL of the Everett Silvertips, the forward Bryce Kendall.
Well, on the ice for him, it's his leadership, game-winning goals, led the league with game-winning goals, and it's the way he can lead a team, and everybody follows him. When you have guys like that, you can't have enough guys that are leaders on the team, especially a guy who scores big goals.
And finally, the organization re-signed a few guys that you'll be happy to see back.
Rolls away from him. Carrick shoots and scores. 4.7 left. 5 to the score.
Team captain and fan favorite Sam Carrick signed a one-year extension through the 2020-21 season. Carrick finished this season with team highs in both points and goals. He also played 9 games with the Anaheim Ducks. Also returning will be Brendan Gooley, who signed a 2-year extension through the 21-22 season. Gooley, who split time between the Ducks and Gulls last season, racked up 14 points in 27 games. Defenseman Yanni Hakanpää will return for his second season with the organization after playing in 47 games with San Diego last year. Fellow defenseman and recently acquired Christian Djoos is also expected to have an impact next year. Djoos was acquired from the Capitals on February 24th for Daniel Sprong.
Christian Djoos has his first as a Duck.
So BJ, plenty to look forward to next year.
There is, with all the core players coming back, and you got to remember the NHL Draft just around the corner, and the way the Ducks do in the draft, I can't wait.
We now leave you with a special message from the San Diego Gulls. To you, the fans, my name is Andy Zilch. That's BJ McPherson. Thanks a lot for watching Gulls All Access.
Cross ice, Carrick shoots, scores!